Hi Math 8 students, I hope you're doing good this Monday morning. I am about to start our next lesson. I hope you had a good weekend and enjoyed some time outdoors with your family. And I want to get started because we have a lot to do. So let's say a prayer. Father in heaven, I just thank you that you're faithful. I pray for all of my students that you would strengthen them and help them to focus and learn this material well so they have great success on their test. And I pray for myself that you'd strengthen me and help me right now to be the very best teacher I can be. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to sit down and we're going to go from there. Okay, so we've been doing chapter 13 now. And this is going to be lesson 13.2. And it's about adding and subtracting polynomials. Just a moment here. Okay. Let's go. So here's number one. We're going to add, sorry about that, I got an urgent text. So lots of media that is competing for our attention, but that was very time sensitive. So anyway, we're back. So we're going to add this polynomial plus another one. Okay, go ahead and write that down. Now what I do when a problem is written right to left like this is I write it underneath, one underneath another, so that I can see what I need to combine together. Okay, so here's the first one, and that's in standard form because I got 3, 2, 1, and then no exponents, and this one is also. But this one starts with 4x squared, so I'm going to put this underneath the 4x squared term. Okay, now I'm just adding, so that means combine, right? Combine like terms. So let's see, I've got no other cubed term. I have two terms that have x squared, so I can add those. Now remember, if the terms have different exponents, they cannot be added. So only the things that have the same exponents and variables. So here I've got 1x squared and 4x squared, that's 5x squared. And then I have negative 3x and negative 7x. When they're both negative, what do? I add. So I have minus 10x, and then 5 and negative 1, I subtract, and I take the sign of the larger number, which is positive. So I have 4 there, and that's my answer. So I just combine like terms. Okay, let's do another one. Here's number 2. Find the sum. And what do I have? 2y squared minus 4y plus 6 plus y squared plus 3y minus 2. Okay, so again, I've got two trinomials here, and I'm going to write them one above another. So I have y squared plus 3y minus 2, okay? And I have 3y squared, negative 4 and positive 3. What do? I subtract. So 4 minus 3 is 1, and the negative is the larger term, so I have negative 1y. But I'm not going to write that as negative 1y. I'm just going to write negative y, because that's without the 1, it's still just y, one of them. And 6 minus 2 is 4. So there is your answer. Okay. I want you to go ahead and try some OIOs. So here they are. Add. So we have number 1, 6x squared minus 3x plus 1 plus 3x cubed plus 4x squared minus 5x. So go ahead and do that one. And number 2, y squared minus y plus 1 plus negative 2y squared plus 2y minus 1. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and we'll come back in just a moment. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this. Now here I've got 6x squared minus 3x plus 1. And in this one I have x cubed, so that's going to start out here. And then if I leave this to the left enough, I've got room to put my 4x squared term there. And this one doesn't have a constant or a number without a variable at the end. That's okay. So I just combine with what I have. So nothing to add to this. There's nothing up here. 6 and 4 is 10x squared. And then negative 3 and negative 5 is negative 8. And then I have nothing to add to the 1. So that's okay. Alright, so let's do this. I'm going to write them stacked together. So this is really a 1 there. So 1 minus 2 is negative y squared. And negative y and positive 2y is plus y. And then 1 and negative 1, those cancel out. So that's just going to be these two numbers, these two terms. That's my answer. I don't have to put a 0. Okay, let's go on to subtraction. Number 3 here. Sorry I'm going kind of fast. As I've said before, the shorter the video, the quicker it will upload. And you can pause it if you need to if I'm going too fast. 4x cubed plus 5x squared minus 2x minus 5. Subtract 3x cubed minus 4x plus 2. Okay, now when you're writing this down, you might not notice it right away, but I want to very much so point something out. If you look here at this term, I've got an x cubed term and I have an x term. What am I missing? I don't have an x squared term, and that wouldn't be a problem except that it's in the middle. So how am I going to stack my two polynomials so that I can add everything correctly? Well, there is a way. So I'm going to write this one down first. Okay. Now, the beginning of this is 3x cubed. So I'm going to put 3x cubed. Now I don't have an x squared term, but I want to hold that place. So I'm going to put a 0 term here. 0x squared. That holds my place. Kind of like if I had the number 304, I wouldn't have, there's no number in the tens place, but it just kind of holds it so that you have the 4 on the end with no problem, okay? And now I'm going to write the rest, minus 4x plus 2. And I like doing this because that keeps everything in line, all right? Now, this problem is a little different. I'm not adding, I'm subtracting. So what does subtract mean? What do I do with polynomials when I'm subtracting? Well, it's the same as if I was adding or subtracting integers. So I, number 1, change all the signs of the second polynomial. And then number 2, I add. So subtracting is really just adding the opposite. Okay, so let's go up here, and I'm going to change colors so it's real obvious. And I'm going to change all the signs. So this becomes negative 3, that doesn't matter. This becomes positive 4 and negative 2. So I'm going to add now with my new signs. So what do I get? 4 minus 3 is 1. And then 5 plus 0 is 5. negative 2 and 4 is 2x, and negative 5 and negative 2 is negative 7. So there's my answer for subtraction. Okay, we're going to do a word problem. So let's keep going. Number 4. I'm just going to read it to you and we will write down what's important. The design for a tree house. So we have a tree house. Do you guys have a tree house at your home? I didn't, but my friend down the street did, and I'll tell you it was certainly a lot of fun to go up that ladder and to be inside the tree. We had a good time. It calls for a rectangular hole in the floor. Write a polynomial to express the area of the treehouse floor. So I have, here's the floor, and we want to have a hole in it like this so that you can put the ladder up and come inside, right? Now, this side is represented by 8x, and this side is represented by 5x, and this hole, the area of the hole, is 2x squared plus x. Okay, so what I want is the whole thing minus the little box. That's going to give me the box with the little hole in it, right? So what does that represent? Well, I have a rectangle here. How do I find the area of a rectangle? Well, that is length times width. Okay, what do I have here? I don't just have numbers, I have terms with x's. That's all right. Instead of using just numbers, I'm going to do 8x times 5x. And if I multiply those together, I get 8 times 5 is 40, and x times x is x squared. Okay, so the whole rectangle is 40x squared minus this whole thing here. So I have to put this in parentheses so that I show I'm subtracting both parts, not just the 2x squared, also the x has to be subtracted. And that's going to give me the shape that I want. Okay, when I have a minus outside, what that really means is negative 1. So an easy way to remember this is if you just insert a negative 1 and then distribute. So I've got 40x squared minus 2x squared minus x. So I distribute that negative to both terms. Okay, now if I'm looking at this, what can I subtract? I can subtract the 2x squared terms. So I get 38x squared. And then the minus x just comes along. That could not have been subtracted to another term. Someone just walked in with their music on. There you go. We live at home. So there's your answer. That is the polynomial that expresses the area of the treehouse floor with the hole in it. Okay, so I want you to try some. So here I want you to subtract. Here's number 1, 4r squared minus r plus 8 minus 4r squared plus 6r minus 1. And number 2, 6m squared plus 2m minus 3 minus 7m squared plus 4. So go ahead and do those two. Notice here, no n term there. You're going to have to put a 0 term in. Okay? And then the last one, number 3, is suppose the length in number 4 was 10x and the width was 6x and the area of the hole was 4x squared minus 2x. What's your new expression of the area of the floor with the hole? Okay. All right, so go ahead and copy that. Pause the video. I apologize. I went over number 2. I wrote that. I went by that fast. So pause it now. Copy this. And I'll just give you a minute. Okay, so now go up here and rewrite this one. So that's number 2 and number 1 here. All right. Okay, so you do those, and I will come back in just a moment. Alrighty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is rewrite this with the r squared plus 6r minus 1 underneath. And what do? I change all the signs and then I add, right? So 4r squared minus r squared is 3r squared. Negative 1 and negative 6 is negative 7. And 8 plus 1 is 9. Okay? And then over here, I'm going to have 6m squared plus 2m minus 3. And now I'm going to write this one here, and I'm going to put my 0 term in for the m term, because I just want to hold the place, right? And when I'm subtracting, I change all the signs, and I add. So I end up with negative m squared plus 2m minus 7, and that is my new polynomial. Okay, now let's go down to the bottom, and I have my picture here. So this is I have, let's see, 10x and 6x, and then the whole is 4x squared minus 2x. Okay, so I'm going to have 10x times 6x, that's my area, and I get 60x squared. So then I'm going to have 60x squared minus both of these terms, right? All right, so I'm going to put in a negative 1 here and distribute that. So I'm going to distribute the negative, minus 4x squared plus 2x. Be careful, you can't not do that step, because otherwise you will easily forget to change the sign of this second one. So I end up with 56x squared plus 2x, and that is my new expression. Okay, we just have a couple more. So number 5, simplify. So we're not just subtracting now. Here is my problem. Negative 8m plus 1 minus this whole thing, 2 times 2m minus 6 plus 5m. Okay? So, let's see. I'm going to distribute here. Okay? I have to do that first. Remember, multiplication and division become first before adding and subtracting. So I'm going to rewrite this, plus 1. Now I'm going to have minus 4m plus 12, negative 2 times negative 6. Now you might need to go kind of slow with these because it's really easy to get your negatives mixed up. Don't do that. If you go slow enough, you will catch it. All right, so now I'm going to look for what terms can I combine together. And I'm going to write this one here, and I've got plus 1, and I'm going to put negative 4m underneath that, and I have plus 12. The 1 and the 12 go together, and then I have positive 5m. Okay? So when I add all these together, negative 8 and negative 4 is negative 12. So I have negative 12 and 5, positive and a negative terms. So I end up subtracting and I get negative 7m, and then 1 plus 12 is 13. So that's my new answer. Okay? Alrighty. Number 6. Solve. Okay, we have one that we have to solve. So I've got negative 6x squared plus 7x minus 5 minus 6x squared minus 5x plus 7 equals 0. Now, when I have an equation like this, I can no longer just stack them, which is what I was doing. So I need to be able to rearrange and put like terms next to each other. That's another way to do it. But the first thing I'm going to do is deal with the negative sign here. So when I have a minus, I'm taking this whole term and I'm subtracting this whole term. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a plus, and then I change all the signs of everything in here. So I'm going to change this to a plus, this to a plus, and this to a minus. Now I've changed the signs, and then I can add. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this without the parentheses now because all of my terms have the right signs. Okay, do you see that? I took out the parentheses. The parentheses are no longer there. Now I'm going to do what I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to rearrange those. Okay, I'm going to put all the terms that are the same with the same exponent and variable next to each other. So see this one? That's the same as this one. So I'm going to write this one, and I'm going to move this one over here. Okay, what's next? I have 7x, so I'm going to write 7x, and then I'm going to rewrite 5x here next to it because I'm going to combine those soon. And then I have minus 5, which is right here. I'm going to rewrite that down here, and then I'm going to put minus 7. Be careful, don't drop the negative there. Okay, whatever the sign is in front. You want to keep that. Now I can combine like terms of things that are next to each other. So a negative 6 and a positive 6, those cancel. So now I have 7x and 5x, which is 12x. And negative 5 and negative 7, cross the line, change the sign, I get minus 12 equals 0. Now all of a sudden you have a problem you're familiar with solving, right? So now we want to solve for x. So everything we just did here is all what we learned in this lesson in order to get to here. And now we can work it out. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides, and I get 12x equals 12. Divide by 12, and x equals 1. All right, I'm going to give you one OIO, and it is simplify 4 times negative 3s squared plus s minus 4, and then I'm going to add all of these things to it. 5s squared plus s plus 7. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, and we will go over it in just a few minutes. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is distribute the 4. Because like we already said, PEMDAS, you'll have to know that for the rest of your life. Not a bad thing. It's a good tool to have in your back pocket. You want to distribute the 4 to all of these terms. So I'm going to have negative 12s squared, and then that's an s, right? So I have plus 4s, and 4 times negative 4 is 16, negative 16. And now I'm going to add it to this whole thing. Now I'm not going to drop this here. This is not an equation. This is just simplify. Are they telling me here to solve? No. I don't have an equal sign. I'm just simplifying. So I'm going to rewrite my second set of terms here, my second polynomial underneath. And what's the sign? Plus. So now I'm going to combine my like terms. So I get negative 7s plus 5s minus 9. Okay, so that's it. That's the answer. You can go ahead and pause the video. Have a great Monday, and if you have any questions, just have your mom email me. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.